Assalamu alaikum everyone, how are you guys doing? In this video I want to talk to you guys about how to memorize the Quran. This for me was one of the hardest things to get into when I started my journey to being a student of knowledge, when I wanted to go to Medina, was memorizing the Quran because it was something that I was not really used to doing, sitting down and memorizing. But obviously in my life I've known so many people who were Hafiz of the Quran, who even knew some qira'at of the Quran. I'm nowhere near that level, and up front, I am not a Hafiz. I have not memorized the entire Quran. However, as somebody who is in this journey and understands sometimes the struggle, but also sometimes the beauty of memorizing the Quran, I want to give you guys the tips that my teachers have given me and how to memorize the Quran. These tips were so beneficial and really helped me in memorizing a good portion of the Quran, alhamdulillah. I want to share these tips with you guys, so let's begin. The first tip I want to give you guys is finding a teacher. This is probably one of the most important things on this list, just because if you're memorizing the Quran by yourself, which is a really good thing, even if you don't have a teacher yet, you should still continue doing this. Finding a teacher greatly helps you in being consistent and in perfecting your reading. Prior to me going into this journey and studying Islam full time, I started memorizing Quran by myself. And I was, in Juz Amma, so I was reading, I was trying to memorize the short surahs, like Surah Asr, for instance. And I would memorize it, and I would just read it by myself. However, as I was memorizing it, I realized later when I would have to go to my teacher, once I got a teacher, and I would tell him Surah Asr, or even these short surahs from Juz Amma, I made a lot of mistakes in my memorization, in the reading, in tajweed, and in many other areas. I made a lot of mistakes. And what was great about all my teachers who helped me in this journey of memorizing the Quran was they were very slow. They understood that I was just a beginner memorizing the Quran, so they went really slow with me. They helped me read, they helped me practice my tajweed, and so on. So when you have a teacher, they not only sit you down and teach you how to read the Quran, the proper tajweed, but they also put your Quran memorization to the test. They really say, okay, you said you memorized one page, let's see if you did it right. So that's why it's really important to get a teacher. And for anyone who is trying to study the Quran, trying to find a teacher, or if anyone is planning to come to Medina and trying to study in the Haram with some of the teachers here, in terms of finding a teacher, there's two, you have to balance. You have to balance the approach of how you view the teachers. There are some teachers in the Haram that are very lenient, super lenient, where they'll hear two students and they'll just go through, okay, you memorize one page, go, okay, let's go. And you may even make some mistakes, and they might correct you or they might not correct you depending on the day, I guess. And especially for tajweed, some of those more lenient teachers, so to say, they don't really fix the student's tajweed. And for me, one of the weaker areas for me was my tajweed, because I just was not used to reading the Quran in that form, connecting all the words properly, saying the noons and all that properly. And having a teacher that's not focused or not helping you with tajweed really hinders not only the memorization, but how powerful or effective the Quran is on you. The second types of teachers are those who are extremely strict on tajweed, where you won't even get past Juz Amma for 2 years. I had one friend who had a teacher here in the Haram, and mashallah, he said this teacher's really good and really his Quran recitation is really beautiful and all that. He's really nice with students. However, my friend told me, this guy has 15 juz in his pocket, and he told me that he was stuck on the last 3 surahs, Ikhlas, Falaq, and An-Nas, for over 2 weeks, because he was so with his tajweed. And yeah, sure, he benefited a lot of tajweed, but he said it got to a point where I was going months and I was not progressing that much. He already knew Juz Amma. Now, obviously, it's good to practice your tajweed, but you have to find a balance. So just keep that in mind. Try finding a teacher who is somewhere in the middle, who will correct you on your mistakes and your tajweed, but also will help you, guide you through, so you can try to do your best to memorize the entire Quran. The second tip I want to give you guys is, when you're starting this journey of memorizing the Quran, is set small goals. This is something that so many people, and even me, have this misconception of memorizing the Quran. We always hear these grand stories of this one kid memorized the Quran in a year and a half. Oh, this other kid was able to memorize 3 qira'at in 3-4 years. And those are great stories, but those are outliers. For the vast majority of people, for me, maybe for some of you, we're in the middle. We're not people who might memorize it and just sit down and memorize it, 8 hours a day, because most of us have other obligations, again, school, family, or whatever the case may be, and we're not those outliers. The main thing is, especially in the beginning, set small goals. If the only surahs that you have, like me when I first started memorizing the Quran, is Al-Fatiha and the last three, and you have them like how I did, not that great, don't go into this thinking, I am going to memorize 5 pages a day. I'm going to memorize even a page a day. You're not going to memorize 1 page a day. For me, when I started my journey, I had a hard time memorizing like 2 lines. I don't know why it was so hard for me, because I didn't know Arabic, maybe because I couldn't even read the Quran that well. And obviously I was discouraged because most of my peers, they were on like, Juz 17 or whatever. They were so ahead of me, majority of them. And I was the one guy who didn't even memorize like 1 Juz. So I was going super slow. But that discouragement, or that thing of I'm going to have such high goals and aspirations right away, will set you back. You'll be upset about it. You won't have the motivation to do it then. Set small goals. Set a goal for yourself that, okay, I'm going to try my best to memorize 1 line. Just 1 line every day at least. 1 ayah, 1 small ayah. And I'm going to try just do it for 30 minutes every day or every other day or 1 hour every day. If you have small goals that you can attain and you think, okay, you know what? This is really easy. I can easily obtain this goal. You're able to be consistent with it. You're able to do it on a daily basis, rather than if you set these high goals and you can't even obtain them at the beginning, then you'll be totally discouraged. The third tip I want to give you guys is to have 1 Mushaf with you throughout this journey. For me, this is my Mushaf. This has been my Mushaf, as you can see. It's camera. Yeah, look. As you can see, this is my Mushaf, and this Mushaf has guided me, this type of Mushaf has guided me throughout my journey. And the reason why, this may seem like a trivial, tiny thing, but it's not. The reason why having 1 Mushaf is so important is because a lot of the khat, the text, on some Mushafs are different. And the ways the ayahs go, maybe there's the end of the ayahs on the end of that page, or might be in the middle, and the formulation of the page are different depending on the Mushaf and who did and what company did that Mushaf. So if you are just going willy-nilly, whatever Quran is available to you, you might get one where the ayah, if you can see it right here, is right here, the end of the ayah, and another one where it's right here in the middle. And for memorizing, it's really beneficial to just have it consistent, because sometimes when you're memorizing the Quran, you might be able to even visualize, okay, I'm at the end of that row. Okay, now the next ayah is here. If it's all being mixed up and here or there, and the khat is different, the text is different, and everything is different, then you're just going to be all over the place. And with this tip is also have a designated place to study every single day. If you're consistently having a study place or a place where you memorize the Quran or whatever, that will greatly help you in memorizing, rather than one day I'll do it in the kitchen, one day I'll do it in my room. Never study on your bed, by the way. Never. If this drives me crazy when I see students memorizing on their bed. Do not memorize the Quran on your bed. That's a side point. Just try not to memorize on your bed. But yeah, try to have one place and be consistent with that place. Say, you know what? This place is when I want to go study the Quran, that 30 minutes or 1 hour a day, and have a blocked time as well. I'm going to memorize in this specific place. And by the time you get there, then it'll be so easy to just get in the zone. Okay, I'm going to memorize. But if you're in your bed or you're in your kitchen and you switch it up every day, then some days you might go oh, I'm on my bed, I'll just go on my phone. Have a consistent place, and you will be more in the zone of memorizing than if you were to go, one day here, one day there. So once you have all this stuff down, before even starting to memorize, before even starting to even read the section, have a reciter. Listen to a reciter, a slow, methodical reciter who focuses on tajweed. For me, that reciter was Ibrahim al-Akhdar. He was so bad for sure. He really helped me with my tajweed. Back in the day when I started memorizing the Quran, I did the thing of, I'm going to listen to Yasser al-Dusari, because he was so, his recitation is so beautiful, so fast, and so good. But I realized that as a beginner, and I'm still a beginner, me trying to memorize with Yasser Ad-Dusari, who was really fast, made me do a lot of mistakes. When you hear someone who recites genuinely very fast, in your brain, you might think like, oh, I can do it too, I can say it as well. But they know proper tajweed. We don't know proper tajweed yet. We don't know how we're supposed to properly say everything. So for them, an extension of whatever word they're saying in the Quran is perfect, but then when we're trying to replicate them, we're just like going all over the place and making a lot of mistakes, thinking that we're implementing Yasser Ad-Dusari or whoever the case may be. Don't study with those fast imams, because while they have beautiful recitation, I love listening to Yasser Ad-Dusari. For the purposes of memorizing, you need to be practical. And the most practical advice I can give you is find, Husari, Meshawi, these really slow imams that can, are so precise in their tajweed. And this will greatly help you, because in the beginning phases of memorizing the Quran, we don't know how to read the Quran. We have a reciter slowly going and reading it. Our job is to try our best to imitate that. Go slowly. If you have a slow, methodical, tajweed-heavy reciter, that's how your thing will be. Rather than trying to focus on having the most, beautiful, moving recitation, like let's say of, some of these faster ones, we're not at that stage yet. Focus slowly on a slow reciter of the Quran, and this will help you a lot in imitating that individual and in perfecting your tajweed, inshallah. Next tip is to read whatever portion you want to memorize. Let's say it's 1 page, 3-4 lines, 2 ayah, whatever the case may be. Read that several times until it's really good, like until you have that reading really smooth and easy on your tongue. As beginners, we're not used to reading Arabic, so when we get to a new page of the Quran, or even any Arabic book for that matter, we're going to mess up a lot, and it might be very like stop and go, like alhamdulillah, like it's very stop and go. However, once you read that portion, let's say 2 ayah, right, like 3-4 lines it might be. Once you read that portion, the entire portion, several times, there will come a point where that section that you're going to memorize becomes really easy to read. That's the first most important thing. Just have it be smooth on your tongue. Because if you're going to go into it just, okay, you know what, new day, I'm just going to go memorize this new page, and you're just like, stopping and going, that's how your memorization will be. And you don't want your memorization to be like that. You want your memorization to be smooth, easygoing. And trust me, if you read it several times and it's smooth, then memorization will just come like that, because you already read it so many times. That's why for some people, the first page of Al-Baqarah, like the first 2 or 3 pages, is really easy, because that's the first day of Ramadan, where we just hear it all the time. And Juz Amma is really easy because many people have heard it or read some of those pages. Surah Al-Kahf is easy for some people because they always read it every Friday, and making it really easy for them. These sections are easier for most people, and if you have that reading recitation down and it's really easy for you to read it, then memorizing will be much easier, much better. Now, we did a lot of background stuff even before memorizing. All that is important. Now the question is, what about the memorizing parts? What do you do now? Well, the tip that I have, and this is the main thing that I've been doing since I've started memorizing, since I started getting to the journey, is going line by line. Now what I mean by this, let's say you're here, right? You're in Surah Duha. So what you do is, Surah Duha has 11 ayah, all right? And let's say you're like, I'm going to memorize the entire thing. It's less than a page, even less than half a page, and you can memorize it. So what you do is this. After you're done reading the entire section, you start at the first ayah, and you're going to read that ayah multiple times. Wadduha, wadduha. You're going to read it multiple times. Once you read it multiple times, what you're going to do is you're going to try memorizing. Reading and memorizing are a little bit different, so just keep that in mind. So you're going to read it wadduha, wadduha, wadduha. Then what you're going to do is you're going to look away. You're going to go like, wadduha. And then if you got it, look at it. Okay, you got it. You have it memorized. Close the Mushaf and recite it like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, how many times you want without looking at the book. So go like, wadduha, wadduha. And then once you do that, once you have it perfectly memorized, where you can say it several times with the book closed, then what you do is you go to the next ayah, ayah number 2, and you do the same thing. You only focus now on the second ayah. So you go like, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. You're going to read it a number of times. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. Once you read it many times and you think you got it down, you close it, just that ayah, and you go, okay, let me test myself. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. You look at the book, oh, I got it right. Close it. Try doing it a number of times. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, how many times you want, till you think you got it down. Then what you do is, these 2 ayahs, you connect them. And this is how you do it. Read it. So you go, وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. You read it, both of them, a number of times. Once you think you got it down, that you read it, you think you got it, you close it, and then you connect it. وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. You open it, and if you got it right, perfect. Try doing that a number of times with those 2 ayahs, with the Quran closed. Then you repeat it with a third step. You focus on the third ayah, you say it a number of times, you close it, then you say it, memorize, you got it right, go from the first one, read Wadduha all the way to the third ayah, and then close it again, and then say it from head from the beginning till where you left off. This is the structure of how you memorize the Quran. This is the structure of how you memorize any surah, any page. This is it. Memorizing a verse and connecting it with the second is very hard at the beginning, and it takes some time to get used to it. Don't go into the process of, I'm going to memorize one ayah, all the way, and then I'm going to connect it. Or don't go like, okay, you know what? I'm on ayah number 5. I'm just going to connect it with the 4th ayah and the 5th. Okay, now I'm going to go to the 6th. No, because then what you memorize at the first, let's say the first ayah, you will forget it. You have to consistently go back to the first ayah you memorized. Even if you're on ayah number 20, 19 of that page, whatever the case may be, always go back to that first ayah you memorized and say it all the way. Trust me, guys, it is much better in memorizing the Quran to take it slowly, go line by line, memorize it slowly, then to just quickly do it, go get as many ayahs as you can, and then by the end when you're going to say it to your teacher, you're fumbling all over the place. You forgot the 3rd ayah, you forgot the 7th ayah, and you thought, well, I memorized 15 ayahs. How did this happen? The reason why is because you didn't connect all of them. This is the process of memorizing. When you get the Mushaf and you're going to memorize the Quran, go line by line. So once you did this, guys, and you think that you got 7 ayah, 10 ayah, or maybe like the entire page down, then you go to your teacher or your friend with a pencil. Imagine I have a pencil in my hand, okay, guys? And what you do is you go to them and you give them the Quran. You tell them, can you please look at what I memorized, see if it's good? And you give them the pencil. The reason why, with that pencil that you give to your teacher, he or she or whatever will mark down the mistakes you made. You go, okay, well, you didn't extend this as you should, or oh, you forgot the wow here, oh, you forgot this here, or oh, you forgot this ayah. And if they circle it, when you go back to review it, you go like, I made this mistake. If you don't have the pencil and it written down on that Quran, the one Mushaf that you have, then when you go reviewing it, you think that one ayah that you got 100% right is equivalent to that one ayah that you got multiple times wrong, mistaken. So make sure that he or she writes it down, circles it, underlines a mistake, whatever the case may be. So when you go to review it, understand the mistake you made. Now this goes on to my next tip. That same day, once you, let's say you said it to your teacher, you got it back, have a time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nothing long, and review that page again. This is crucial. If you don't do this, then you will forget it. Like you think you have it fresh here, but our memory, like you have something memorized in your short term, and then in the long term it just dissipates. Like you won't even have it in your long term memory anymore. So on that same day at night, or even like the next morning before you memorize the new part, just quickly review. You don't even have to go all hardcore each and every single line. If you want to, you can. But just read through it, look at the mistakes, read through it a couple of times, try quizzing yourself, maybe close the Mushaf and try quizzing yourself on that. And it will stick in your head much better than if you just quickly memorized it closed it and let it go, and then, okay, tomorrow I'm going to go over the next new page. No. Always consistently, when memorizing, go back. Look at that page that you memorized. Look at the mistakes you made. And try doing a quick memorization. It doesn't have to be another hour. Maybe it's only like, if you're memorizing is 1 hour, 2 hours, maybe this is only 30 minutes. Maybe it's only 15 minutes. But be consistent in having a time when you're just going to review what you went over to the teacher with the mistakes. This is so crucial, guys. Next suggestion I have for you guys is to read the new section that you're going to memorize the next day. So let's say you have a program every day where you're going to memorize with your teacher, right? Or like 5 days a week, or whatever the case may be. What you do is after you reviewed that section that you memorized, at night after Isha, or maybe even after Fajr, you grab your new part, so let's say it's the second page of whatever surah that you're memorizing, and you don't even have to do the entire section. Let's say you're somebody who memorizes an entire page of the Quran every day. What you can do is go and do half of it, listen to the reciter, read it over constantly until it's smooth on your tongue, that you got it, and it's not really stop and go anymore for you, at least that half portion. This will greatly enhance when you're going to memorize to your teacher. Why? Is because now you got at least half, or if you do all of it, that's even preferable, but let's say half, you got at least half really, really good in terms of reading it, and you're ready to memorize that portion. Personally, what I would do is, when I was in the Mahad in Albania, when I first studied Quran, the night before, I did this much later, I didn't do this in the beginning, but much later what I did was, I would listen and read half of that page I'm going to memorize. After Fajr, I would wake up, read that again, and then read the second half. Okay? That's what I would do. This is you getting used to that page. It's a new page, and you want to keep it fresh. You want to have it easily readable to you when you go to memorize it to your teacher. After Fajr, I would have the entire page really easy to read. Then when it comes to that 2 hour, because we had 2 hours in the Mahad of trying to memorize, it was so easy because I was just going through the rhythm, because I already had that entire page really smooth on my tongue. I had no issue with reading it. It was just me memorizing that portion. So at the end of the day, after Isha or after Fajr, have a time when you're doing that reading and listening. So when you get to the teacher, when you get to that memorizing, that 1 hour, 2 hours, or whatever the case may be of time to memorize, it'll be really easy, and you can memorize a lot faster than you think you would, rather than if you were just to go and both having to listen, read, be trying to make it smooth on your tongue, and then memorize it. That's really hard, guys. My suggestion is, do as I say, after Isha, after Fajr, get used to reading it, and it'll be a lot easier. The last tip I want to give you guys is be consistent, optimistic, and make a lot of dua. My last 3 tips, I'm going to bunch it all together. Consistency is so important. As the Prophet ﷺ said, the best deeds are those that are small but done consistently. Just have it consistent, even if it's not every day, even if you're not somebody that can do it every day. Let's say you only do it on the weekends. Let's say you only do it every other day. Have it consistent. Just do it, like have a set time and place where you're going to as much as I can, outside of the random days where you can't do it, have a consistent set schedule of, I'm going to memorize, even if it's 1 line, even if it's 3 lines. It doesn't matter how much you're doing. As long as you're consistent, whether it takes you 3 years, 5 years, 7 years to memorize the entire Quran, who cares? You memorize the Quran. You're memorizing the Quran. That's the most important thing. The second thing is, be optimistic. Every letter that you're reading of the Quran, as the Prophet ﷺ said, you get 10 hasanat. And like alif, lam, mim, each of those, you get 10, you've already got 30 hasanat there. Not only that, in another hadith of the Prophet, he ﷺ said that the one who is struggling with the Quran, who has it hard to read, and it's not easy on his tongue, he gets double the reward. So for just those 3 letters, we already got 60 hasanat in our pocket. Allah has made it so easy for us, guys. And even in the Quran, Allah said that He made the Quran easy. It is easy. While at first it might be super hard, as it was for me, be optimistic. Allah will open the door for you. One of the main ways Allah will open the door for you is if you're optimistic and you make dua. Dua is so important. For me, when I was memorizing and I was way behind most of my peers and I was struggling a lot to memorize the Quran, the one thing I had, the one weapon I had was I made dua. When I came here to Medina, a lot of times when I would drink the Zamzam water, I would make dua, oh Allah, open my heart up to memorize the Quran. And alhamdulillah, while I'm not a Hafiz yet, I feel that Allah has accepted that dua from me and will make me and you guys one day, inshallah, Hufaz of the Quran, inshallah. So that's it, guys. This is my tips on how to memorize the Quran. Inshallah, this was beneficial, and I'll see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum.